We need to officially call everybody by name.
Oh, Shreya's here. She says she's muted by the host. I will try and figure her out.
Okay. So do you take a roll call or?
Yes, let me do that. Let me do that. Shreya, I'll work on you, but I know you're there. So Russ Rubin.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes. Peggy.
Can you say yes? There you go. Shreya, I'll call you again when I unmute you. Atman is not here. Commissioner Klein, not here at this point. Commissioner Morgan Nelson.
Present.
Good. Commissioner Sorensen. There she is.
Present.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Hi,
How are you guys?
we're good. Commissioner DiLorenzo.
Here.
All right. Commissioner Cookall.
Here.
Hey. Commissioner Chandler is away and Commissioner Isaacs is away. All right. So we have a quorum.
Great. Thank you. The agenda is sent out and we need to approve that. Somebody move it.
Would you like me to share the agenda again, or do you have that in front of you?
I move the adoption of the agenda.
In second?
Second.
Thank you. All those, any other comments, changes, or additions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
We'll have to do roll call again.
Oh, we have to do.
We have to do the vote on that again. All right, so here's our agenda. Here we go. Commissioner Rubin.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Conkamala. I know you're there, Shreya. Commissioner Klein. Not present. Commissioner Morgan Nelson.
Present.
Commissioner Sorensen. Commissioner DiLorenzo.
Here.
Commissioner Sukel. And Commissioner Chandler is not voting and Commissioner Isaacs is not present and not voting. Thank you.
The meeting agenda is accepted. Each of you should have received, was posted on the city website, the minutes from last month.
Oh.
I thought they were accurate, to the best of my memory. Anyone, any comments before we accept those minutes?
I will pull those up for you. We'll take a second and look through. We have to do this because I think it's pretty cool that we can do it.
Yeah.
Here's the reports and recommendations section.
Okay, everybody have a chance to skim that? Comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none. Okay. Does anybody want to place a motion on the table to accept the July minutes?
All right, there we go. This is for approval of minutes. Commissioner Rubin. This is an aye or nay vote.
Motion made?
Pardon me?
We need to make a motion.
Oh, we're not, sorry. Go right ahead.
Okay. So we're all in line. Let's do it. Who would move so to accept the minutes? Please.
Move to accept.
And that was who? That was Lindsay?
Yeah.
Seconds?
Second.
Rebecca, seconds.
Sorry, Rebecca, thank you.
Now do a roll.
All right, now we can call. Chair Rubin,
Yes,
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Conkamala. I believe that is a yes. I can't, are you sharing your video too, Shreya? Let's see, we could at least have a wave from you. I don't see a video for you either. Oh, Hannah, I do see you here. That's great. Okay, Shreya's saying it's not working. I'll check on her when we get done with this. All right, we are voting to approve minutes. Commissioner Klein,
that's a yes.
that's a yes. Let's see.
That's a yes.
There you go. I got you unmuted. Commissioner Morgan Nelson
Present.
and Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner DiLorenzo,
Yes.
Commissioner Suko,
Yeah.
and Commissioners Chandler and Isaacs are not present for this vote. All right. Thank you, Chair Rubin.
Thank you. We have Shreya is
I'll work on Shreya here.
No,
Oh, there you
I
are.
figured it out.
Good.
Yeah.
Shreya, you want to vote for out loud for the minutes? A yes or a no?
Sorry, are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
All right. All right. We got votes. Thank you.
cool.
Would you please remind me who voted to, or who made the motion and seconded to approve the agenda?
I think I made it. Rebecca seconded.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're all present and accounted for. Okay. First item on the agenda is an update on the public art work plan. Who would like to kick that off? I think most of you are involved. Anna, do you want to start, or Michelle?
I think I heard from Peggy that Shreya would do sort of an overview of what she has written and was submitted with your materials. Shreya, is that correct?
Yeah, for the project Mosaic. Yes, I was going to do that part. So we are moving forward with the project with Mosaic. And so what we're planning to have again is a virtual gallery in combination with a podcast. So the virtual gallery would have different collections and art pieces. And the podcast would be a dialogue between members from Mosaic and the artists. So we would have selected artists, and that would include a Q&A session. The theme will be about struggling to healing. And so that Q&A session would include a conversation with the artist about the meaning behind the piece and their journey from struggling to healing. Then we were also thinking about maybe having an event to kick it off, like something broadcasted online or a socially distanced event, maybe. But we want to talk to Mosaic about their thoughts with this. I also wanted to make sure that we will be using the new rubric developed by HRC to guide our efforts. We will be making sure that lens is applied to all parts of the project. So that includes, from members that are involved to the actual art that's being incorporated in the gallery. And then I had a table in that handout, which just generally talks about the roles of the commission and Mosaic in there. And overall, the commission will be playing a role as a supporting force, and Mosaic should be the face of this project. And then looking towards the future, we want to have 1 to 3 art pieces that are included in the virtual gallery become public art pieces in Edina in year 1. That would be our goal. And as an update on how this is going right now, both Hannah and I have talked to Mr. Protaski, and once the school year officially starts, we will be moving forward with more planning and come back to the commission if we need any resource help or anything.
Sounds terrific. Any comments, questions?
Just Commissioner Sorensen, I just had a question. When you say artists, are you talking about student artists or community artists? If you could just clarify that point, I understand.
So we will be taking community submissions. So that's anyone from the community that can be students or other community members of interest.
Freya, what kind of help does Mosaic need from the commission? We kind of set this so Mosaic is lead and we're in support of that. What kind of help do they need?
So we haven't had a meeting with Mosaic yet, like an official one. And I think that will give us a little bit more light. But in general, we're thinking obviously like the budget and the money planning, any resources like with technology help, if we were setting up an event or even with the website, or just any help with like outreach and publicity. I think that those would be the main things that the commission would probably be helping with.
Trey, do we need to provide any materials or labor or anything like that for the artwork?
Russ, I can't hear you. You're really muffled.
Do we need to provide any materials or labor? Is that any better?
Materials, I don't think we need to provide any materials unless it's like website help or assistance, if that's necessary, or like any technology support. I don't even think that this project would require that much like that many tangible materials. So
Shreya, to that point, may I just add, Lindsay is a PR expert, and our hope is to have Lindsay integral in the process of promoting community outreach to ensure submissions from as many people in the community as possible. So Russ, in that regard, yeah, we'll be assisting with PR, community outreach, maybe, translation, because things do need to be translated in different languages depending on what the rubric calls for. And again, as Shreya said, there hasn't been a meeting with Mosaic. Mosaic is going to get into full force at the start of the school year, and they'll be getting new members. The members are both adults and students. So we'll have a plethora of people, and Lindsay and Peggy on the adult side here for our commission are really working hard and diligently to assist Shreya and the students and Mosaic in whatever is needed.
Cool. Thank you.
The group that's been working on this, can you do a little bit of a timeline? I know it's hard to do since you've not yet met with Mosaic, but what are you hoping for?
I think in general, I mean, since things are so tense, and especially like given the current situation with COVID, I think we're hoping to have the kickoff be sometime in the fall. I know we're going to start planning in September, and I don't know exactly how long that's going to be honest. We do want to have maybe a few weeks of community submissions before we actually kick off the virtual gallery. I'm guessing like mid-fall.
Okay.
But that's.
Well, one thing I do want to say is we had a short meeting with MJ about this whole concept of the working group, and the idea, as MJ brought home to us, is that the working group was a way to invite community in to the projects or the considerations that the commission is having. And since we had already reached out and had this relationship with Mosaic, it was less important to have a working group at this point for that role. So that made very good sense to us. That doesn't mean that somewhere in the future in our planning, that isn't that wouldn't be something we'd consider. But for this project, we did not need to do that. So that's super.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
I will also add, just as we're talking about this initiative, the plan itself is currently on the agenda for council on September 1st. So that means we will have consideration, questions perhaps, and hopefully full approval by September 1st of this plan.
Susan, do we need to be participating in that meeting?
You know, I talked to Lisa Schaefer, the assistant city manager today, and she said usually they reach out to the council members before the meeting to see if there are questions. And if there are none, probably not. If there are, certainly Perry or me should be there to answer any questions or represent the plan. We've recommended the plan, so you know, we would be there to answer questions and reinforce the fact that the commission is working well. So I'll let you know if there are any questions from council.
You're on mute.
Would it be all right to have request Shreya to participate or to be there in case there are any questions?
I don't think that's how these virtual meetings are working.
Yeah.
I don't, as I'm watching council sessions, they're not taking public comment. They're not taking comment from the call-ins. So I don't think there would be a role for someone to participate other than to answer previously expressed questions.
Susan, I can understand that, but here we are 2 years, we're now at the place where we have an actual concept and we have a community partnership that we've created. It might be the perfect time to be able to have Shreya there just in case something does come up and to be that face of the actually being able to implement the public art concepts.
I will express that feeling to the people who set up council meetings. I don't know what the answer will be. I think not, but I will certainly say that you have an interest in that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Trey. Anyone else have an update related to public art? Susan, they have all the materials that they need.
Was that a question for me? I'm sorry.
Yes, please, sorry.
Yes, I think so. I think we can start, as we start looking at our 2021 work plan, we can certainly assume that progress into 2021 on our public art plan is part of what we're doing.
Thank you.
And this is Michelle. I would just add, you know, I love that it's going to be community submissions. I would just time our plan around knowing that a lot of the school age kids and parents are kind of like on a little bit of eggshells, really focusing on communications around how things are going to be modified and different this year in planning. So, you know, maybe we focus a little bit the first few weeks or the month of September on, you know, blanketing the community with this idea. And then, you know, we can kind of get back in touch with parents and students. I just feel like people's capacity to read and synthesize and adapt is one more thing right now is at a limit. Maybe I'm speaking personally, but so I just want to, you know, if we can go out to the wider community who, you know, groups that, you know, maybe retired or don't have children yet or involved or other things besides trying to, you know, educate your kids at home and doing different variations of that. So anyway, I just want to mention that. We'll probably get more traction, at least in the first month of this.
Lindsay, you were thinking about strategy. Do you want to update us on any ideas?
Oh, Hannah and I were exchanging some emails, just thinking, looking at how Mosaic was trying to recruit for the Story Jam. They had a simple Google form through the Dynaschool's website that you fill out and submit that way. So I thought that just might be a really easy, slick, fast way to do it versus us trying to come up with a website beforehand. And then I was saying, let's Michelle, exactly to your point of like, let's hit up the Edina Senior Center. Let's get an article in the Sun Current. Let's set up an Instagram page that maybe can be student run so we can get out that way. So I think there's a lot of different avenues, because I agree. I think the parent population of local students is going to be busy and students as well. So I think it'll be, I agree that we kind of blanket the whole community and then circle back with that. But I think there's a lot of different avenues we can go to reach different populations here.
Thank you.
Another thing I wanted to mention is that there are, like, the Story Jam, for example, was something that they weren't able to do last year because of COVID. So that will be like one collection that we will be able to release already. So we do have we do want to have like a few collections ready to release when the virtual gallery is ready.
That's awesome.
And that'll be helpful through Mosaic, because Mosaic already has some of those sources and some of that content.
Perfect.
That's a great point.
Just in case.
Thank you. That's a great point.
Oh, I put it outside.
Anything else? I mean, Hannah, you've been asking about budgets, and how are you doing? How are you feeling about that? Is there any other information we need to have?
So I spoke with the Edina Community Foundation, and I guess there's about 9K in there. There are also the canvases that I got donated that were created for the Remembrance Day. So there's 16 canvases that those can also go into the gallery, and we can try and raise money. We can auction them off. So also the hope is to have a parent or two from Mosaic help with fundraising. And we're looking at maybe needing about 15K. We're not sure about the actual costs, but we're shooting for using about 15K, which would mean commission money, the Edina Community Foundation money, and maybe anything we can raise. And then I'm assuming, based on the way in which we have to get money, we'd send invoices to Perry, and Perry would be paying them. Park and Rec would pay them.
I think, as I understand this, if we're going to spend the money that is in the public art allocation, we have to actually request that money. I'm not sure if it goes as far as council, but we have to request using that money for a specific project.
Who releases that money?
So that said, would you be able to, during this meeting on September 1st, would you be able to get that information, Russ? Or
I
someone?
don't know. It depends on who holds the purse strings. I'm not sure it's the council per se that does that. It's probably more staff. But I don't know. Susan, do you have any insight into that?
As soon as I have some details about what this money is actually going to do, I can have a conversation with Perry about that.
So how did you get the student sculptures paid for, Susan?
I am trying to remember if we went to council for it, or it was an interesting time when there wasn't a director of Parks and Rec or an assistant director, or else the director of Park and Recs was brand new. So I'm not sure exactly how that happened at that time, but I will go find out.
Yeah, if we could get something in writing and make sure that, I don't want to end up having someone be hired and that not being able to pay them, and not being able to pay them on time, especially with COVID and all the situation right now. So I just want to really know we can get somebody paid within 30 days of their invoice, and how that's to be done, and we just know what we're doing and how it's going to be done.
Okay, the one thing I'll reinforce is the commission can't hire. The city hires. So that then answers that question. It'll have to go to the city for approval as a hire.
Okay.
Let's just make sure we understand the process.
All right, I will clarify that. And again, the first question they're going to say is how much and what for. So the more details I have, the easier the conversation will be.
Who can provide that?
What details do you need, Susan, as far as like, do you need estimates? Do you want us to go out? We have been doing that, but is that, you need that in writing, an estimate from different vendors?
Not necessarily. We're not talking about enough money to actually have to go for bids, but I have to be able to explain what is going to be done and what the product's going to be and why that's a fair asking price for that. So in any way you can think of to do that, I think would be helpful.
The one pager that Shreya put together, is that not applicable? You need numbers to go with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so would it be possible after we have our first meeting with Mosaic and we have a better understanding of exactly what technology we need to support whatever their wants are, to then have numbers for that and then give that to you, Susan?
I think that will be helpful.
Okay.
And then what would your turnaround time be, Susan, once we got you the numbers?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Do we have any money right now that's not with the commission that we could use in the meantime? Like Hannah, you were talking about some foundation, right?
Yeah, the Edina Community Foundation.
Right.
So why couldn't we access that 9K right now?
Is that in the special, what was the title of that? Special events budget that the foundation has? Dick came and spoke to us about that, or the big ideas or the new ideas line item. Is that what that is?
There are actually 3 of them. There are 3 pots of money, which total 9K.
So my understanding of the community foundation money is that they actually issue that. You ask them for the request, and then they cut the check.
So who's you, Steve?
The gentleman who runs the community foundation.
No, I know, but do we as a commission vote on allocating the money and then Dick writes out the check for us?
I believe that Dick has to. We request it, and then Dick has to actually approve it as well.
Okay, I guess I'm just asking for more specificity. Is it we as in ACC, or is it Susan, or is it both of us? What's the way to do, what's the protocol?
So I not know what the current protocol is, but my understanding would be that any member of the community can actually request those funds. So I would think if the Arts and Culture Commission requested those funds for the purpose, that would be a great place to start, right?
Thank you, Steve.
And since we've approved the plan, and that you guys are acting as agents for the plan, that you can go and do that.
Thank you. Good, perfect, thank you. Can we just get that in writing?
Oh,
Either that in your checkbook?
all right. Any other questions? I mean, basically, we are implementing this first phase. This is year 0.
Yes.
And this is great. This is wonderful work by everybody. Anything else, so that we can move on to the next point of the 2021 initiatives? Susan, are you okay?
Yeah, we'll look forward to more specificity. That will help me to have a conversation around this. I do want to thank the small group that's been working on this. It's really a great idea. I hope we can do it. I hope we can get this done. It's a wonderful idea. And Shreya, particularly, thank you for being liaison with Mosaic and with the school. And also just congratulations for your reappointment. We're very glad you're still with us.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Okay, so let's move on to 2021. We have to put together a work plan, and it is due when, Susan?
It will need to be in completed form to MJ by September 25th. So getting a good set of ideas today, and then being able to bring it to our September meeting for commission approval before it goes is what we will need to do.
I will take responsibility for drafting whatever our team thoughts are into that. And we've had a few ideas for thematic ideas of what we can put into the plan for next year. Susan, you had made, I can't remember who said this, but we should aim at having a larger number of initiatives than we had last year. Is that the shared thought?
I don't think that's necessarily true at all. I think we need succinct statements that are achievable, knowing that we meet 12 times. And that we're already doing a lot of in-between working with our small groups. That may have to continue, but I think we should be realistic about something that we can complete in a year. Since I sent you the form, there's been a revision to the form, and it simply is that we now have quarterly reporting on the progress on initiatives. So we'll need to be able to say at the end of the first, second, third, and fourth quarter, what progress we've made on the initiatives that we have. So I think as clear we can be and as succinct as we can be and as realistic as we can be for what we need to get done is really the answer. So I don't know that that means more or less.
Okay.
I just think it means being very clear about what it is we think we can do with 12 formal meetings.
Okay, thank you. What themes are people thinking of that we should put into for our key initiatives in the next year's workshop, given this feedback? And I would also add that I asked Susan, and it's a hard question to ask, what the direction of the city is going to be the next year. Is it going to be belt tightening? Is it going to be focused in certain areas of diversity and inclusion? Is it going to be about infrastructure? Have they laid out any of those kinds of basic thoughts and constraints?
And my response was that all the issues with city budgets and city resources have been shared openly with council. So those are all available for any of you to look at if you just go into the minutes of council meetings. I think the question of race, equity, and inclusion is very, very much a part of the thinking for everything that the city is doing. It's a welcome initiative, and it should really be part of everything that we're thinking of and doing. So we had taken an early focus on that in the Arts and Council Commission or Culture Commission, and so I think we continue that. I think that there are certainly infrastructure things that continue to be needed. I know things like the parking lot at City Hall has space for electric cars now because of sustainability kind of mentality should infuse what we're doing. Some of the things that are happening in park and recreation with park upgrades and park facilities to make things accessible to the community are things that we are working on. So being aware that we are here really to advise council and council is there to serve constituents, I think makes it a little easier to think about what we are doing.
Okay, with that.
May I just make a comment? Lindsay urged that we do something in regards to community outreach plans or communication plans, which I think is a really smart idea and should be part of everything, a line item at the very least of everything that we do. On top of that, to Susan's point, time limit and budget. So there should be each initiative, I think we need to provide more information and understand that a lot of things take money. What is a realistic timing, and a communication plan around something is vital. So I'd like to just offer that up on behalf of Lindsay, because I've got a bigger mouth.
How do we build that into an initiative?
Well, I guess my question is, sorry, are we narrowing down initiatives? Are we putting everything out there, and whoever put out the initiative then takes the lead on that? Like, how do we want to go about that?
Good question.
The great answer to that is it depends. And it depends on how broad or big the idea is, the initiative is, and what it takes to get it done. Let's just, last year, our initiatives were implement year one of the public art plan, the rubric, and artwork at the core. There was the review the past history and analyses of the art center. And then it was about an inventory of art and making sure we had a good inventory, and we had put together a plan for long-term maintenance. Those were the 4 elements in last year's work plan. What we have to always do is try to make it as concrete and specific as possible. So I was talking about if that's something we feel is essential to have in our work plan, how do we put it in a box?
I just had a question. Yeah. Oh, please. Just had a question as a new commissioner for your projects in the past. Do you have a protocol with the city of Edina? Do you work with the communications department of the city? They have a terrific communications director. I imagine the city likes to put forward initiatives by its own Arts and Culture Commission. So it seems like some of this should just be accessing what's in place within the city already. Is that how things worked in the past, or how did you? So I realize that bumping up communication is important, of course, with all public art projects, but working within, just experience that I've had with the city is that they have a very powerful communications team and resources to get the word out and collaborate on press releases and that kind of thing. Is that something that the commission worked with in the past, or is that a relationship happy to help put commissioners in place with, introduce them virtually to the communications director for the city? Just wondering if you've worked with Jennifer Bennett in the past, or.
So Rebecca, can I just speak to the fact that I've worked on quite a few projects and have had to go to the communications office and provide video, provide interviews, provide press release data, and nothing much has been done. So if you could spearhead something and improve relationship, that would be great to get stuff done.
Yeah, I just worked with them on the small project I did last month, and found to be just quite the opposite of what you're describing. So I'm happy to help. Maybe new people are in place, or maybe this is a new priority of the city right now, especially as we're more virtual. But they were very collaborative and extremely proactive. So, happy to, in fact, even just thinking about your budget and how to trim some of that away. Their video department, Edina TV, did incredible work for free on the project I did, documenting everything. And again, the press release was done by the communications department, issued to 100 outlets. I ultimately pitched and got stories on some bigger press, but I think it's important to partner. Obviously, we're an extension of the city of Edina, so we need to be in partnership with them no matter what going forward, right?
Yeah, Rebecca,
on the actual work plan, on the work plan is a section where we request assistance from various city entities, IT, communications, facilities, if we need that. Again, the more specific we are, the more we will know how they can assist and help with their own work plans. How do they fit in work? I will give you a very good example. The whole public art sculpture project was entirely supported by communications. It's the call for sculptures, the People's Choice Awards, because they knew they had a very strong plan for how to support that. So I think, again, the clarity and the timing of what we might need to achieve the things we're trying to do really helps build those communication pathways.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I'm here of service if I can help with forging a new relationship with them. Obviously, you know, look to you, experienced commissioners, to kind of point us in the right direction. We don't want to overstep anything, any relationships, but I have to say that I was very impressed with the communications team I worked with, and I know they're just staffing up right now, actually, too, and building the team even bigger. Could have been at the time you were doing your project, they were overwhelmed with other initiatives, but I think they're looking for, you know, important, like, I'm very excited. I'm sure they would be extremely excited about what's being developed with Mosaic. As soon as that's fleshed out a little bit more, Lindsay puts her spin on it, I think that could be something to present to their team and find a bigger team to help push the project once it's accepted and approved.
Right. I think that's a great idea. Thank you. And I think Lindsay, you know, probably can help lead all that. Also, the Edina Community Foundation, they have a communications arm, and Lindsay's been talking to them. So I'm sure there's.
You know, Hannah, just, I know I'm not involved with this as much as everybody else, but I'm on the Community Foundation, and I'm listening to what you're saying. I know who all these people are. So I again, you know, am here as someone that can help. So reach out anytime, Hannah.
Perfect.
That's terrific.
That's great.
Just to draw this back, though, I think what we're talking about is implementation rather than a initiative in and of itself. So I think the things that we ultimately have to put together as our work plan initiatives have to be, I don't know, more in keeping with the overall need of the city and of the citizens of the city. But this is great stuff. Don't get me wrong. This will, the force magnifier of this is incredible. You can get better like this. And your skills and all of it is remarkable. So, you know, what other big themes though can we have that will be in line with what the city wants to do and is doing? And then what we want to do? Is it the inventory again? Is it the rubric or how we fit in with that? Is it, Steve, you had an idea. I don't know if you want to speak again about what your idea was. Anybody else who sent something in? Mr. Steve, can you hear me? Unmute.
There.
There we go.
Well, I don't know if that was stipulated or not. I was just spitballing for ideas in the COVID world. So one thing that I've seen some communities do is like a virtual book club or a virtual, I mean, this would be built off of our reading group, right? Our author series, Susan, right? You could do a virtual book club, or you could do a virtual like movie club. And obviously both of them could pick diversity and inclusion, you know, and equity and justice ideas around it if that was something that, you know, to partner with. But that would be something that would it would require obviously city resources as far as, you know, like some type of robust you know, infrastructure. But that was just an idea. If we were looking for other ideas, we used to have a film festival that died many years ago. And then, like I said, I was trying to build off of the reading group that had been very successful, or the author series, Susan. And I'm sure we've all watched more than enough Zoom and WebEx and other webinars over the last 7 months, but they don't seem to be going away. And so we can join the noise if we wanted to.
Okay. How
Just,
do we,
yeah.
how do we turn that into an initiative, just from a formatting standpoint?
Well, I think the first thing would be to, if we wanted to agree on one or all of those ideas and put it on our work plan and see if it survives the city council, right? If it does survive the city council, then we have a resource need, right? Which is we have a technology, a communications, and a working group goal, and so we put all those into place. That's, I mean, right? I mean, it's executing an idea. I don't think they're particularly complicated ideas. I mean, to pull together a community virtually, or even if it's a next door kind of thing where people just put in what they think about a book. But like I said, there are two ideas. If we're looking for content, that was just those are ideas. My other idea many times ago had been about this photo project, which I think I've shared with the commission before. But there's an organization that does these large format individual photo prints that actually each person pays for, so there's no funding required for it. And you may have seen them in some cities. They've covered a parking lot with all these photos. They've covered a wall with all these photos. They've covered a street. Obviously, one of the things I keep coming back to is that horrific sound wall at 50th and Vernon that curves up there across from Starbucks and the thing. And you could put out a call for, let's see the faces of Edina, and you spend $20 and you send in your picture, and they send back to the place a photo, and the city helps put them up on the wall, and it would be interesting to see what it would result in. Would it be a mosaic, or would it be a white color? But that in itself would be an interesting idea. And again, that requires very limited funding. It's a very accepted. Like I said, if you look at it, there's an organization that does it, and they've done it all over all over the world. These large format prints, and I can resend that website again, Susan, if it wasn't circulated the last time around. It's just it's just an idea. It would be interesting to see, and I probably think it would be the kind of poppy pop art that people might really like. It's very individual and stuff like that. So it's not that kind of deep stuff, but it would be an interesting and semi-participatory idea.
I like that, Steve. I looked at the website. I thought it was really fun and really eye-catching and conversation starting and all that. So I like that.
I mean, and I think it's relatively easy to implement, right? Because there's no, it does. I mean, I do have to come out of pocket for my picture, right?
How about if we had a theme which is using art as history? Because the mosaic that you're describing, really, it's a snapshot of who we are today. And as you said, it's fairly white and reminding us of kind of our strengths, but also our limitations. I'm looking for ways to phrase this and parse this that it really creates more power, one-off, really good photo thing, but how do we build it into something stronger? And you made me think of, we had a group that I'm with, there's a woman named Kristen Delegard at the University of Minnesota, and they're doing a complete review of all of the deeds in the Hennepin County, looking for language that is restrictive in the deeds, particularly keep blacks out of neighborhoods, written into the deeds. Generally, when farms were being turned into housing developments, happened in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And it was mostly against African Americans, but also against Catholics and Jews. And language still exists in the deeds, and try and ultimately update the deeds and have that kind of language struck. But it shows what happened why neighborhoods developed as Black neighborhoods and Jewish neighborhoods. And it also starts to point out why Black ownership of housing in Hennepin County is so low, is so far below the levels of white family ownership, housing ownership. I mean, like 78% to 21%. And that's a primary way of how families, households build up equity and capital is through home ownership. And if you don't have access to that, it's in this planet, at least in the United States, it's very hard to build up household capital. And there's all kinds of tools being developed to analyze this and to make this a point. And I think a city like Edina should be aware of what its past is. And there's all kinds of ways to identify it and publicize it. So to me, what you were talking about matches well with what I just mentioned, and they've done this pictorially, so it can be done in a way that continues to highlight where we've been, where we are, and where we need to go. I don't know, thoughts? To me, that's a big thing, that's powerful, and that can impact numbers of people.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that and have it, sound important.
I like that, yes. And I think it's important to recognize where we came from, own that, put it out there, and call it out, and then, do our very best to move forward in a positive way and make those changes. And I think we can't just gloss over that. So I like being able to highlight what you're talking about, as hard and ugly as it is. So I think that's smart and great.
So how could we theme that? How could we write that as an initiative?
So I was just curious, years ago, Michelle talked about cooking. And cooking is a great way to bring cultures and people together. And maybe there's a way of, I don't know how redlining, how you integrate all that, but maybe there's a way of having some sort of food truck in City Hall's parking lot where they could get AC and having a big cultural party and then have the images projected on City Hall. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, but the idea of communities getting together, of different cultures, food, which, Michelle had mentioned years ago. I just think, maybe blending culture, and Susan has all kinds of music relationships. Maybe there's a way of having a party.
That's fun.
Yeah. Well, if
I don't know if we should be planning any
shot at crafting the description of the initiative.
I don't know if we should be planning any events for the next year.
Pardon?
You're a buzzkill, Steve.
I'm just saying I think as a government leading organization to lead with a party.
Oh, wait, you could have a car, you could do the travel around the world in your car, and you could pick up different foods.
Like the state fair.
Yeah, the state fair.
Right.
The car thing. Yeah, exactly. Michelle, take it from there.
Well, I did like I think it was called the Rectivity boxes that Edina Community Education created. And part of me is thinking about, could there be an art bundle, or could there be a food bundle? I mean, that's a little bit probably more regulated on we're not trying to go into the food kit business, but the idea being is that I really did like that concept of a kind of a prepackaged thing that goes out to people. Or, could we be involved with there are gatherings at parks, because some leagues are going on and things are happening. Parks people have become less scared about interacting at parks, if there's a way to say that. People are socializing a little bit at parks, even though, they should, keep distance, et cetera. But maybe there's a way to hand out art supplies, or create some sort of newsletter during the pandemic of art projects to try or you know, kind of bundle something with that. So there's that idea. There's kind of a couple models that you can go with right now for safety. Either a way people are you're gauging online, which there is a little bit of fatigue, and we are going into winter though, so that's going to be something people might be more willing to engage with. Or maybe we try to engage more with the parks. So what the team was just saying, or what the group was just saying about, you know, thinking about Parks and Rec is our kind of governing body within this structure, that parks have become, I guess, in some ways, a socializing lifeline, I think, for a lot of people, young and old, in Edina, whether to go the loop around the walk, or you're playing pickleball at 7:30 in the morning, which I see a ton of people doing, or, you know, I kind of feel like if there's a way to bring art outside to a space, we have about 2 more months, you know, I would say through October, and, you know, I think people will be willing to go outside even a little bit longer. There could be something there. And I know Hannah and I talked about, I think last winter, you know, trying to figure out an art event outside in the winter where maybe you cross-country ski and there's art installations. You know, I think we need to just pair up, though. You know, it's either kind of 2 routes we can go for safety, and it's digital, or it's kind of pairing up with Parks and Rec and trying to bring art or ideas or poetry and art, you know, many forms, not just visual, out to a space where you can socially distance. And those are the kind of ways you could do it safely and innovatively, I would say, during this next, who knows how long.
I'm just going to add some things in here as kind of updates. I love the Rectivity boxes too, and I was able to create 2 of them for art pieces. The paint with Q-tips and the Model Magic fish. So I love us pushing that kind of thing. The Art Center is not going to open this fall. We are going to be doing workshops, short workshops, maybe demonstrations in park facilities. It almost feels like the way we're operationalizing the Art Center is the way we're starting to think about operationalizing community involvement in art through the Arts and Culture Commission. Our models are merging in ways that really they've never done before. So I think your focus on Parks and Rec really runs parallel to what we're going to do with Art Center and art events. Why not consider that all part of a bundle, at least for this year, while we've got other restrictions?
Yeah. How do we tie all that together as a work plan initiative? I mean, it could be as straightforward as, you know, work with arts, you know, have Public Art Center and Parks and Rec work together to maximize the facilities and the reach of Park and Rec facilities. Not worded very Peggy, what do you think?
Well, I was just going to say it's kind of similar to the school model that we're trying to come up with a hybrid of doing things like art kits, but then doing something online like a book club that people who are in a vulnerable population doing things. We're trying to find just a couple of things that will kind of spread across the community. So some things in parks, you know, some things online. It just seems like it's a hybrid initiative for the next year also.
The thing of working with Parks and Rec is, I think that their minds would generally go to sports and physical activities, and we can try to work with them and influence them to broaden the kinds of activities you might consider. It's sort of similar how we worked with HRRC last year to make sure that art is represented in their consideration.
Yeah, here's another model. I mean, I think we're onto something interesting. The other model is, I think, the farmers market, which is going on right now over in Roslyn Park. Now that's deemed an essential service, so it's a little bit of a different thing. but that could not happen in Centennial Lakes. We could not figure out how to socially distance there. So it's over in the parking lot at Roslyn Park, and there are entries in, and there are spaced booths, and it's been a huge success. There are places like that where we could do things with very careful planning, with social distancing, sanitization, masks, perhaps even gloves. So there already are things that fit within the governance that Governor Walz has given us, for the guidance. Maybe what we do is after the meeting, I just ask for calls for the ideas that seem to resonate, and let me try and put things into sort of categories. I think we've already mentioned our themes, and our themes are race, equity, and inclusivity. And that might mean our history. That means how we represent and think about ourselves now. It might mean what we're doing with Mosaic. And our other theme is how do we keep our outreach to our community in a time of COVID? I think we probably outlined those things that give us our framework for what we're thinking about.
I was just wondering, to add on to that, Rebecca mentioned the TV arm. Maybe there's a way of, and she's been working with them, maybe there's a way of also creating some sort of ACC talk show, or ACC, being able to sort of highlight what is going on in the city.
Yeah, I mean,
you do something.
I agree. I think that wherever we're talking about virtual content, we should think of Edina TV as a partner. One of the things I was thinking about is how our artists, our community artists, have been impacted by the closure of the Art Center. Is there a way to even do a virtual gallery, studio tour? That's where either we have our own kind of show, or maybe we take turns hosting kind of a virtual social distance tour of some of the local studios. Just thinking so much about not just our artists, but our musicians, people that are creative, and how challenging this time has been. So that's a real way that I think our community would appreciate this commission, maybe getting involved with finding solutions to promote that they're still doing, and opportunities to support artists in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. I think, Shreya, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's kind of what Mosaic and the virtual gallery is doing already, or that's the goal.
Yes, that is the goal. I mean, if it turns out right, that would be a great idea to continue it, or morph it into something that is more related to the commission itself. But yes, that's the goal for Mosaic right now. As of right now, that's what we're hoping to do.
Yeah, and it would be great though if a local artist who's really professional, I mean, in a way to reach out and say, hey, we'd love your participation, something you've already done, something maybe you're selling that someone could, inquire about. But that would be cool. That would elevate it as well. I mean, if they're a part of the community, they qualify. I mean, that would be cool. And then when you promote it, you could say, and, visible from some local artists, and highlight them too. I don't know. It's just a way to, kind of seed that gallery with some, very interesting art from even people that are already established.
And the idea also would be that the podcast, we would talk to selected artists and maybe ask them how they've been affected during this time. And again, their journey from struggling to healing, whether that's during this time with COVID or something related to their identity. So I think that would be a perfect platform if there's any local artists that we know of to reach out to them.
Well, I think it would have to be sent an RFP to every artist that's listed with the commission. I mean, with the Art Center, correct? We can't cherry pick our favorite artists. Don't we have to make this a public art request? I mean,
of course. Yeah, of course.
So, Susan, maybe I could talk a little bit about that's more than I realized. I was thinking you were doing you were curating your event with sort of student artists, and then maybe inviting community artists, but it sounds like you're trying to highlight as many artists as you can, but that might be a really big undertaking. I don't know.
The idea is to reach out to the community. So Mosaic's actually always been, from my understanding, really good at that. They have done really good, especially since they have a parent mosaic and student mosaic. And it's not just within the school. They've been like really good in their events. Like their story jam last year, they did have quite a few community members attend it, because I did attend that one. And so, I mean, that, and also Lindsay's supposed to help out there. We are hoping to reach out to the community, and I know it seems like it might be a big undertaking, but that would be the goal, to actually get as many community members as possible.
That's so good. You know, one other way that's a little, that just honors artists, you know, the Fall into the Arts Festival didn't happen this year either. We've just started now just tagging videos that artists have on their own sites and being able to call attention to what they're doing as well. So there are some things that maybe are easier to do and less easier to do, and that one is a fairly simple strategy. We could be part of that as well. Maybe this is the year for a really concerted effort on the part of partner organizations that are looking for ways to support art and artists.
And maybe
So, Susan,
to that point, Susan, maybe it's doing it through the Edina TV. I mean, maybe it's an ACC, you know, whatever kind of, it's cooking. Who's, you know, what community folks are cooking Somalian food. I mean, it could look like anything, but if you use the television, as Rebecca had suggested, you have a plethora of concepts and ideas. And Shreya can continue with this idea of highlighting artists in Edina, artists that, you know, whether it's visual, performing, whatever it is, but that's really the direction. And Mosaic with, you know, as the face will be able to accomplish that. But if we use the TV as another format, maybe we can create something else.
Yeah, if there's a way, do we have to promote that or put that on the agenda for September 1st, or is that a concept that I could run with and, you know, push to Edina TV on behalf of the commission, or you need to go through the proper channel of first having the concept approved? Because I love that idea. I can see it going in so many different directions, as broadly based as culture is. It could be, you know, music, it could be art, it could be cooking, you know, they're just film, you know, so many different avenues, and a way of keeping the Culture Commission kind of in the community, you know, on, you know, just as a public face of kind of the arts and culture scene in our communities. So I love the idea of engaging with them more. I'm glad you mentioned it, Hannah. Something, I don't know, this is, if we're still sort of brainstorming, I did have 2 people from the community reach out to me with concepts that they, if this is the time to kind of bring those up. Someone in terms of parks and recreation, a community member asked if the Arts and Culture Commission would consider public benches in the parks that could be, you know, painted and, you know, enlivened in the different parks by community members, community artists. This person wanted to build the benches and donate them, and was just looking for sort of an organizer to sort of push the effort. It's probably maybe a little bit late now. But anyway, something floating out there to consider, that came from just, again, I think, you know, the point Michelle made of people really connecting with their parks and Mother Nature providing entertainment during this time. So, you know, something to consider. And then I did have a filmmaker, you know, back to Stephen's idea about a virtual film event. I did have a filmmaker from Minneapolis, Vance Gilbert, who's a photographer, who did a documentary about the days after George Floyd's death, that has been getting sort of screened around the community, and wanted to present it as a possible piece to view by the commission and consider as a virtual screening for Edina. So I can send more information about that if we think there's interest. But it certainly goes along with the theme that we're pursuing this year.
Okay. in recognizing the time, we saw the two other things we have to think about. Can I suggest I take some pretty copious notes here, finding ways to bundle these into initiatives, where we're not going to lock ourselves into any one specific activity, that we provide counsel. We'll get back to you with how that looks, and then ask you to edit, change, amend as you see fit, and then ultimately take however many that is, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would be and we probably use examples in some of these, but I'm just being aware of, we have to go through the protocol and the process that the city has requested. Is that okay with everybody? I just want to make sure we're moving forward. Okay. Great.
I have a quick question.
Please.
So is it, shouldn't one of our initiatives be implementing like whatever year it is of the 3-year plan?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that year 1?
Oh, yeah, that's like.
And that, I think, yeah, and then that would be like implementing 2 or 3, like making 2 or 3 of the art pieces that we have in the virtual gallery and maybe expanding on them and having them be public art pieces in Edina. I think that was the hope for year 1.
Yeah, and that, yeah, and if you look at the initiatives from last year, they were written at a really high level. They're at 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us ultimately, if they're asked, to flesh that out. But behind the scenes, that's our job, is to figure out how to implement the initiatives that are approved by the city.
I'll just kind of remind us of that plan that hopefully will be approved. We also have language in there about starting to create evaluative metrics or assessment rubrics for success of what we're doing. We have some language about feedback loops. So perhaps our initiative should be focused on some of those things that give us data and feedback for what we're doing. We had kind of talked about a working group working with that, but I suggest we look back at that plan and make sure that when we say implement year 1, it has all of those pieces in addition to events and activities.
But do we identify that in the plan?
So they're in the grid. It's all
Yeah, they're in the grid, yeah.
grid.
Yeah.
Right.
So why don't we just use that language that's already in the grid?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's great, very creative, and we can make a lot of this stuff come to pass. Chair, I only have one thing to add, and it's really, I hope Susan will talk about it, is just what we're going to do without the art center. I was part of a one potential location. Haven't heard anything more about it, so I just want to turn it over to Susan. Is there anybody else who wants, before we ask Susan to update us, Carol, anything that you want to make us aware of this one on, specific questions you might have?
Yeah, we did tour a total of 3 potential sites. You remember Perry's recommendation during the work session to council was that we look at leased space as opposed to new space, new building. We've looked at 3 places. We do have a meeting next week. As soon as we looked at these things, COVID hit. So that all kind of slowed down while we adjusted to what our new normal was going to be. So we're going to meet, I believe, next Tuesday to just make some decisions about how much money these things will take and whether we can handle that, what kind of time frame we have. But I think we've made some pretty strong decisions that this building isn't safe and it isn't healthy, even though I'm sitting in it today. My windows are open, and that we need to do something else. And for right now, it's an arts programming as opposed to an arts facility that we are trying to offer in facilities that sit open in our community during the day and sometimes on weekends. So making better use of the facilities we already have, inviting people into those facilities. I toured some of the park buildings. They're lovely. We have a lot of those until they turn into sheds with ice rinks, but some of them we can use all year long too. So I think we need to really remember that it's not necessarily a place, but it's really about offering programming to our community, and we'll be as creative as we can if the commission wants to help with that until some determination of a facility is able to be made. I'm willing for all sorts of advice on that.
I'm just curious, what came out of community's thoughts about what they want to be? What kind of programming? Is it a family center? Is it music? Is it just more rec, park and rec?
We haven't had a conversation, an open conversation like that since the last time we all talked about it and we had visitors to our commission meeting, way back like 2.5 years ago. So I don't know that we know a lot more about that right now than we did earlier with this. So I think that also is why getting out and doing exploratory programming, see what people are actually willing to come to and spend time doing, even in a time of COVID, is a really good strategy. We did have our survey at the open streets last week, and we know that our targeted audience there was families, and they did want lots of family programming. We did hear that from them.
One of the things we keep kicking down the can down the street is on our inventory and on maintenance. Do you think, Susan, given you what you know what's going on in the city, will we be able to address that this year?
I didn't understand what you said, Russ. Can you say it again?
Given, we keep kicking down the can down the street on our inventory of art.
Right, got it.
And
that's still on this year's initiative. It's still on our work plan this year. So we could spend a little bit of time this fall going out and prioritizing, looking at whether further damage has occurred, what's there. Maybe there's a small group of people that would be really interested in doing that.
I could have sworn Perry said that was he needed to do, or it had to be done by Park and Rec.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah.
Didn't Perry say he needed to create the Park and Rec department needed to have staff people to do all this stuff? So can we get them to do it and move forward and getting that initiative accomplished this year?
Well, the initiative is that the commission assists staff in finding out. So we can accomplish that. The piece about getting it done is in the staff's work plan. So we can do what the commission initiative is asking us to do, in that we've reinvestigated, we've taken that audit out, we've looked again, and we can make some recommendations, or the commission can make some recommendations.
So I second that, or whatever, so we can move forward and get that initiative taken care of and get it done this year, so we can actually have the sculptures that need to be fixed next year, if that's what we deem is most appropriate. But let's get that done.
Okay, so we can either today or in our next meeting identify some people that might like to use that as one of their project areas to help us with art in the city. Up to you.
Yeah, because at best we can't say that we've done anything on that initiative this year, and we have to keep it alive. It's just everything's deteriorating, and it is a shame. Okay. Susan, is there anything else you want to share about programming, facilities? Anything else going on with the Arts Center, related to the Arts Center?
No, just to reiterate, we're starting the process of switching to a workshop model. Hopefully a lot of things that would entice people to come out and make in small communities, small safe communities, and a variety of things. You might just say, gosh, what would it look like to be a watercolorist? What do I have to do that? And so you get a couple hours of a workshop to do that. A wonderful watercolorist who taught a whole course in how to paint skies with clouds. So maybe there's a workshop that said, how do I put that into my painting if I'm already an experienced painter? So hopefully the workshops will have appeal for kids, adults, seniors, and we'll put them in places that can be safe and sanitized in small groups with social distancing requirements adhered to. So that's how we're looking at things for this fall.
To Hannah's point, I guess using TV, can we do art classes on TV?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I mean, I think in the winter, especially, I mean, it's nice to be able to gather in person in parks, absolutely. But come November, that's going to be tricky. So that would be something it's kind of old school and fun. So.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, I'll ask about that.
Very good. I mean, most importantly, we have two tasks ahead of us, I think, right now. One is to support Shreya and all this activity for immediate public art through Mosaic and that. And then secondly is to continue to develop our initiatives for next year. And really thirdly, to think about the inventory and how we can assist and encourage the city to have an active plan in place. Okay. I just want to add one more thing and ask anything else anybody wants to add to any of this. I want to respect everybody's time. Okay, here I was an election judge for the primary, and it was a great experience. And we need to make sure everybody is out there voting safely. I was at Southview Middle School. We had 321 people vote, even though about a quarter of the district voted in advance. About another 20% voted on the day. 321 people who came in to vote, 321 of those people had masks on. We had no issues whatsoever with anybody wearing a mask. So we can make this election process work, and I'd encourage anybody to get out there and get all your friends to exercise their prerogative. It's a great thing that we do in Minnesota. That is it. Okay, so I will entertain motions for adjournment.
Second.
Oops, who made the motion?
Hannah did. I'm just saying she did. I don't know if she did.
Who seconds?
Who seconds that?
Oh, did I, or do I need to say I make a I can tell. Should I say I make a motion to adjourn the, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you just can second it. Hannah already did that. You want to second that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We gotta do roll call on it, sorry.
Oh, you gotta do roll call.
Commissioner Rubin.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Konkbala.
Yes.
Commissioner Klein.
Yep.
Commissioner Morgan Nelson.
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner DiLorenzo.
Yes.
Commissioner Succo.
Yes.
And Commissioner Chandler and Commissioner Isaacs are absent and not voting. Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for doing all this stuff. It's bad. Have a good month. We'll see you. And those of you with kids in school, good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.